Welcome, everybody, to this month's episode of Unlimited, where we interview people with unlimited consciousness that really inspire us to take our lives to the next level. I'm so excited tonight to have Shifu Jingshen with us tonight. He is unlimited because he's not only healed himself, he's healed a bunch of other people using the power of the force, the power of consciousness, the power of whatever you want to call it, the universe, God, whatever it is, right? And also the power of the wisdom of the body and understanding how to detox it, both our mind and our spirit and our physical body. He is a warrior. He's gotten into very, very, very high levels of martial arts. So again, we know that that has to do with the body, but it also has to do with connecting to the source, the force, the electromagnetic fields. He's going to talk tonight about the energetics of food, the things that we put in our mouths every day. Like, how much energy is it taking? Is it giving? is it nurturing us or not? He's a vegan, so he's going to talk about why he made that decision. And he's also going to talk about iridology. Iridology is the study of looking at your eye and then understanding what are the things that are coming up in your body. And this is preventative medicine, hopefully, if you catch it in time. And he's going to be doing a workshop in 2 weeks on the 27th for members only. So if you're interested in what you hear tonight, then you're going to want to sign up. It's $8.88 for the LightNet membership. That's going to get you into a ton of cool stuff, including his workshop. We're also going to allow one of you guys to come up and get your iridology, your eyes read by him. And we're going to ask you to send an email to team@lightnet.org with a number from 1 to 100. And whoever gets that closest number to the one he picks is going to be chosen. It takes him about 2 hours to really go through everything in your eyes, but he's going to be demoing that in the workshop. We're also going to be bringing our favorite food lists, to the workshop, and we're going to discover what the energetics are behind that. So once again, tonight, we're going to be talking about the quantum field. We're going to be talking about health in all of its ways, the mind, the body, the spirit, all of that. And we're really excited to have you. Welcome, Shifu. Welcome. It's so great to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Zenka. Thank you.
Awesome.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll jump into the dynamics of food and what that means, and then we'll go into the other stuff as well. But yeah.
Okay. Hi guys, how you doing? Hope everyone is well. I don't know how deep you want me to go. I'll keep it brief. I'm the fourth child of a very narcissistic family. So I got to watch other people in self-destruction mode, and somewhere along the way, I guess I thought to myself, this doesn't feel so good. I don't know if I want to go that route. We have suicides in the family and drug deaths and blah, 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 all the usual stuff. And I'd say it wasn't a fully dysfunctional family, but it was dysfunctional enough. And so for whatever reason, growing up on boiled vegetables and steak and potatoes and McDonald's and Jack in the Box and all that stuff, dinners were okay, but it was the usual processed garbage. And so somewhere along the line, I was introduced to a green drink, and something happened in my DNA. I don't know what it was, but I kind of went boom, like there's something about this. I don't know what it is. That was back in the early 80s. And then the next thing I knew, I met this person and that person, and I was at a Venice Beach fun run in California, and I got introduced to the Norwalk Press. And next thing I know, I'm making gallons and gallons of juice of all types and just going ape over it. And I felt the energetic benefit immediately. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm bouncing off the walls. Like, I don't, this is crazy. And if you guys remember, there was a product made by Gerard something out of Santa Barbara called the Ultimate Meal. Anybody remember the Ultimate Meal?
No.
No? Yes. And so I tried a can of that, and then bam, it's got, loads of spirulina, chlorella, and QC10 and sprouted quinoa and all these things. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So not only did I finish that can, I called up the company and I said, hey, uh, I'm in Glendale at the moment, and I've got a storefront here, which I didn't, but I'd like to know where your uh, price break is. And the guy says, well, that'd be like, 50 cans or something. I'm like, well, that's almost a whole pallet. How many are in a pallet? And he's like, a pallet? I'm like, yeah. So I bought a pallet. I paid like $3,000 or something for it, but I got a really good deal. So that got me started on retailing herbs and being consuming huge amounts of superfoods, And of course, my ex thought, "Oh my God, this guy's lost it," because I'm in the kitchen juicing every week with the Norwalk press. I've got the refrigerator at 34 degrees so it doesn't freeze, and I'm doing quarts and juicing and slicing, and the kitchen's a juicing disaster. And she's just like closing her eyes, like, I can't even believe what you're doing. Unfortunately, she thought I was crazy. So I've got loads of these cans of uh, Ultimate Meal in the garage, and I'm taking big quarts of juice to work every day. And people are asking me, what the hell is that? Right? They're all drinking coffee and hitting the food truck, and I'm drinking the juice and bringing my own prepared meals. So I was totally the oddball. So I'm sure some of you can relate to this. And so anyway, as the years went by, I kind of, came in and out of it, but each time I went back stronger. I'm like, no, like I don't want this processed crap in my life. So there it went on from there, and I got involved in quantum energetics I was introduced to a book, Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy, if anybody's familiar with that, back in '80. And that just blew a fuse for me right there. I thought, okay, if this is for real, if I can actually bypass matter and go directly to spirit, I'm all in. I'm going to go for it. Like, where do I start? And uh, fast forward a couple years later, I had my first healing. And so I was all about metaphysical healing and the herbs and the juicing and the real food, raw foods, the whole bit. And I just began scratching each restaurant that I thought I liked a lot. But then when I did the research, I realized how insanely toxic it was. And one of those, of course, was In-N-Out Burger. I'm sure we've all been to In-N-Out. And I used to go there once a week without fail and be like, oh, it's so good. And then I did the research and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing to myself? So I began that process with every restaurant and every food source I could find, and began to prepare more meals at home, do more raw foods, the whole bit. And eventually I went from what I was raised as, I call my dad the steak, potato, and whiskey guy because that's what he lived on. Um, and of course, when I was born, they were heavy smokers and drinkers. So my lymphatic condition at birth was not that great. But I slowly moved away from that and went to vegetarian, and then went to clean vegetarian. And then just in the last 6 years, started to move into vegan, and then an okay vegan. And then I went into pure hardcore vegan. And the end of the story is pretty consistently, I'm bouncing off the walls. I feel amazing. My skin is super clean. Um, at one point, about 6 years ago, I started to get crustaceans, cancerous crustaceans under my eyes. They were like scabs that would never go away. And so that's kind of what prompted me to immediately do a 30-day juice cleanse. So I'm a practitioner with Dr. Morse out of Florida. I'm certified with him, certified practitioner through the Mother Church in Boston, the First Church of Christ Scientist, from Mary Baker Eddy's writings. Um, and I've got a whole bunch of other certifications just in general naturopathy and energetics, um, as I jump back and forth. And then also certification indirectly through the Shaolin Temple in Shaolin, China, as a 6th degree. So since uh, for whatever reason, my brain just has to dive into these things. And I've spent a ridiculous amount of time just studying and focusing on what metaphysics really is. How do you really attain it? And I was doing this probably about the exact same period on a kind of a parallel path that Joe Dispenza was doing it. My path was a little bit different, but we kind of arrived at the same point. And it's just everything cleared up. I've had very strange during my detoxes. Uh, the last one I did was 55 days. And on the back of my arm, the last week or so, I had this huge boil explosion. Just all this stuff just come out of my arm. And that was after 18 colonics. And I had already gotten worms out, huge mucoid plaque worm sheets, worms, all kinds of stuff. And I was like, I'm like, how much more is there? So that's kind of a fast forward. Um, but today I I can't, the journey is a very personal journey for everybody. And different things happen based on all of our experiences and what is going on in our brain and the shadow work that has to come up for us, right? And so it's quite an ordeal. And each detox that I do basically one big detox every year, almost a couple of months. Uh, and it's a little bit different. More comes out. It's a little bit different. Um, and then the realization that we are pure energy and that we live really on energy, not on food, and that the addiction to food is a psychological addiction, not a physical addiction. That's the trip. So, of course, we're social creatures. We love to eat. We love to sit around and be with people and, you know, tell stories and, have lots of friends. It's a very social thing. But we don't need a vast majority of the food that we eat, if any of it. And the further that I've gone down this path, the more that you just become clear on that realization. In fact, one of the DJs in Sedona I met a couple of months ago, he went down the same path. We had a big discussion. He went for 20 days on no food, on as a breatharian. He did it twice, he said. And I was like, yeah, man. Like, but he said he had to come back because he's like, I was deep breathing for 3 hours every day, bringing in the prana, and it was too much. You get too ethereal. And the most I've spent as a breatharian is the furthest I've gone is only 2 days. It is a trip. And what's interesting is during that time, I personally did not feel hungry, had no interest in food. But knowing in my brain that I was going to go back, I'm like, oh, I want to eat. I'm hungry. But it wasn't like a hunger like you'd normally think. It's just like you just want something. So you start with the fruit and the juice and move on to greens and vegetables. So yeah, it's quite the journey. And
Yeah, I mean, this is all sounding a little extreme to probably most people on like even just going vegetarian is extreme for a lot
well,
of,
probably.
and even, in breatharian, you know what I mean? So talk about, it's funny because I mean, we should talk about the energetics of food, and we should also talk about, the iridology, the report, because it was so interesting. So he did a test on me and he was like, oh yeah, your kidney is not good. And by the way, when your organs are having distress like this and a lot of toxins in them, they're actually affecting your mind and your life. And you can override that with like positivity and whatever, but you're having to override all that energetics with it. So talk about a little bit about, um, you know, some like, I love that you're so passionate. I love that you went to 6th degree at the, you know what I mean, at the martial arts thing. And I love that you went wholeheartedly in this, because I've heard your healing stories and they're nothing short of a miracle, the people you've healed with your consciousness and with the food that you've done. Um, so yeah, so what do people have to know? What are the things that are really not so great, and what effect can we have when we detox, and why is it important, and what about the iridology?
Okay.
Oh, also one thing, if you can keep you're not very clear, the internet's not very good where you are, so the as much as you can stay still and have the camera still and you still, the better that the resolution is going to be.
Okay. Is the
But
voice okay?
the voice is great, but if the computer can stay on a fixed place, that would be better than it moving.
Okay. I'll do my best.
Okay,
My laptop is on my belly, so
that's fine.
maybe
Yeah.
that's why. So on that topic, there's a dozen different branches that we can go to. Each of these branches is super, super important in order to be this well-rounded, holistic individual that we all want to be, right? So I've got 100 different super intense healing stories. So I don't want to waste too much time on that, but uh, I have an audio testimony from one client. It's about 3 minutes, and it's nothing short of a miracle. I can play that, or I can just speak to it very quickly. What do you think?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and play it. I think that's interesting. I mean, the healing stories that you presented at the conference that I saw, those are burned in my memory as just like an example of how deep
So,
conscious be.
so, so what I'll do is this is a really juicy one, and I'll give you one other 30-second one, and then I can give you one of my own. But I kind of want to set that off. Oh, before we do that, does everybody have the spoon that I asked you to
A
pick
lot
up?
of people with spoons. Yep. Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
I have no clue who you are, what where you are right now in your life. I want you to take the spoon and I want you to stick your tongue out as far as you can and stick the spoon all the way back at the base of the tongue and get one good scrape with the spoon all the way forward and scoop it up and get as much of your lymphatic fluid as possible. Go. Don't choke on it.
Do you want me to bring some people forward into the frame?
Well, I want everybody to hold your spoon up in front of you. And one at a time, I want you to tell me what you got.
Okay, so go ahead and unmute yourself. I know I see a couple people who did this.
Just raise your hand up or stick your spoon up, whatever.
Sharita, Susan, why don't you go?
I just got a little liquid with a little bit of white.
Okay. Next. Anybody get a good, juicy half teaspoon of junk?
No.
No?
What
Okay.
did you get, Julie? I mean, I got some white stuff and like some slobber. This is kind of gross.
Okay. So
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see.
anybody get
did you
anything
get-
significant?
I got white stuff.
Okay. All right. So looks like we didn't get anything gigantic, but okay. So that white stuff is dissolved food, but it's also, are you ready? It's also the poop that your system is expelling out, and it rests on your tongue, and it's telling you, your body is saying, out, get rid of this. I don't want this. Kind of like when you spit, you're spitting out part of the cellular poop in your system that your body does not want. So you always have some level of poop in your mouth. Exciting, huh? Okay, so I just wanted to start with that while we go into this first healing. I'll put the audio. I'll put the audio on. Why did I just get darker?
I don't know.
Oh, I think it's because I'm losing sunlight. Um, one of the women in our group, a year and a half ago, 44 years old, in a wheelchair with a feeding tube, and the doctors were having to remove a small tumor. Basically, her internal system shut down. She was having all kinds of issue. She was feeling horrible, and she was in a wheelchair. Like, she couldn't really function. She worked with, not myself, but one of our practitioners in our group. 1 year later, went full hardcore. 1 year later, she just finished a couple months ago a 5K run and has completely rebuilt herself. Amazing. Like, totally rebuilt herself. Okay, so now I'm going to play this audio, and looks like it's 2 minutes. Here we go.
I was diagnosed March 2013 with a right ear acoustic neuroma ear tumor. My hearing was at 0. I went vegetables and greens for a year and a half. In bed, weak, no movement. I came January 2015 to your class, level 1. Remember that? I went up on stage and you helped me out. I took a leap of faith, 2 large tumors in the middle of my head, 0 hearing. Went 6 months, oranges, pure fruits, juices, liquids, 50%, 60%, 80% hearing, 96% hearing. 2-year tumors. Thank you so much. You have I love you.
I remember that day too.
And I'm close to 100% fruits.
And that needed,
Close to 100%.
that testimony is beautiful. And
my eyes went from green, dark green, loads of silver, almost no silver. I had my eyes done, not here again, but
for the roof, I can see the blue right now.
It's changed from green,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
major lymph stagnation, major orange sulfur from years of antibiotics,
Isn't that neat?
to completely on fruits, vegetables dejectedly
I
squat.
know.
Zero,
Yeah.
nothing,
Yeah.
no energy.
See, this is the best testimonial you could want.
And I
Tumors
have-
in the brain. I mean, this is the thing. I remember your case.
and it's shrinking. It's shrinking. It's dying. I haven't touched my eyes, but literally from green to dark blue. I think it's even lighter now.
Isn't that neat?
If you
Oh
did-
no, you can see blue all over the place.
And the whites are super white. I was yellow. The
Yeah.
outside of the whites were yellow,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
changed to super white. And I had a breatharian, by the way, stay with me for 8 days. Elatom Elamine.
Oh yeah.
I was fascinated.
yeah.
He stayed with me 8
Oh,
days
yeah.
last month.
Oh yeah, isn't that cool?
Not one drop of water, not one drop of food, full on energy, lots of shake off your breath work. I was eating, I was like, I was doing my watermelon fast. I was
Look
like,
at
oh
what
my
you're getting back. Look what you got back, sweetie. And I remember that.
You saved
You
my life.
remember that?
God, you
Totally.
saved the quality of my life, literally.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I thank you
does.
so much, and I always, I love you always.
So, actually, that's the only light that I have. So we'll just make do.
Do you want to do it with your phone?
Let me see. Hold on. So that woman, that woman went to perfect. There we go. Hold on. Okay, that's better. That woman went to the Gerson Center. If you're familiar with Gerson, they do fruits and veggies. It's salads. It's pretty popular. She went for 12 months with nothing happening, no recovery. 12 months. She went home. She's like, what the hell? Like nothing happened. Then she met somebody, I don't know who, worked her way into our group and realized what we already know, which is why the Gerson program doesn't really work that well. Lots of people from Gerson who aren't healed come to us, and from the Hippocrates Center come to us, even the Ann Wigmore centers. Fruits are the brain and nerve foods. Vegetables build muscle. So if you want to detox, if you've done detoxing, it will work on fruits and vegetables and salads and superfood greens, but you won't get the results, the deep, deep results that really you need to have. So you have to go on all fruit, fruit juice, or distilled water. You have to go hardcore in order to remove the decades of junk that's accumulated in your system. Hands down, end of story. I don't care what research you've got. I've seen all the research. I've studied it for a good part of my life. I've seen too many people have instantaneous healings. Fruit is the brain and nerve food. This woman, in 6 months, everything cleared up. Whoop, done. And her hearing, as you heard, she had totally lost her hearing because of the pressure in her head. Totally restored. Eyesight restored. Boom, done. These are the types of stories, hundreds, not tens, not actually not hundreds, thousands of stories, and 20 plus thousand verified cases over the last roughly 20 years that I'm aware of. So it's just super cool. Just more evidence for true naturopathy, which is the detoxification on a body level, on a mind level, and on a soul level. So I've studied all three, I've worked on all three, and I think those three are really awesome. So that's the real definition of pure naturopathy. It's different than naturopathics because lots of naturopathic doctors still believe in the doctoring system. And I've run into many potential or clients who've been with their naturopathic doctor for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. The truth is, what I've found and what my group has found is that if you're with your naturopathic doctor more than a couple of years, something's not right. It's not working. Because to truly detoxify, if you go completely hardcore right out of the gate in 12 months, whatever you have, I've seen too many cases gone, just gone. And it doesn't matter whether you're 40, 50, 60, 80. We've got, okay, one last quickie. One German 78-year-old guy, not mine, somebody else. He was bent over, arched back, scoliosis, back spinal issues. He's old, he's wiped out. He's done, pretty much done with life. 12 months of just grape juice and the herbs, the healing herbs. He didn't do colonics, which can help speed everything up. During the last month, he was complaining the whole time. This isn't working. I feel like crap. It's not helping. My life is over. In the 12th month, his spinal column completely rebuilt itself. And when he stood up now, he stood up completely straight. And he was acting like a 15-year-old. Absolutely stunning. So that's the last story.
Yeah. So, what does it mean what about the mental and spiritual side of things? So in addition to really taking
Yeah.
out some of this, clearing some of the buildup.
Yeah, let me get into a little bit of that. Okay. So I had to really wrestle with this kind of continually for a while, right? Because it's a beautiful truth that all false beliefs are kind of rooted in the unknown, right? So during each of our processes, I think we're always kind of questioning if this is really the right path. But vibrationally, we feel it, but then the ego starts to question it, or our social circle starts to question it, right? But when this veil of deception is lifted, then the falsehood dissolves into the infinite wisdom of the divine. And that's the key. You have to get past the veil. This fear, in all its ghostly forms, can't withstand the power of our own spiritual enlightenment. So we have to seek that. We have to really go deep with that. That guidance that Source gives us through the ancient scriptures remind us to cast aside this fear and embrace the boundless of the divine. And that's where I was stuck back in the early 80s when I was discovering all this stuff. It was blowing my mind because I started to meet, when I opened my eyes, I started to meet people who had miraculous healings. So being afraid of nothing is kind of senseless, right? We have to go investigate. And we have to kind of like have a life unafraid, a life illuminated by the grace and wisdom of the divine. We have to immerse ourselves into the quantum field and infuse our human consciousness with the understanding of really deep truth. We have to flood the darkened corners of our own ignorance with the radiant and light, with the radiance of light and understanding. And that's where we have to go. I know we're all trying to do that, but we have to really dig deeper on that. In ancient scripture, St. Paul mentions the new birth. and it highlights the importance of spiritual growth and transformation, and all this stuff, and that only the pure in heart will see God. But to achieve this purity of spiritualization, we have to embrace the highest form of Christianization, or soul purity, which entails the cultivation of that Christ-like consciousness. And that's in the body, the mind, and the soul. There's so many different organizations, spiritual organizations and assemblies. And unfortunately, I was stuck a little bit in that crowd, on the edges of it, where you're eating like insanely toxic processed food. You're thinking nothing of eating a cow or tearing into any animal. And then at the same time, spouting your consciousness, your spiritualization. And I had one guy in one of my organizations, he had this enormous thyroid lump on his neck. And I happened to see him at one of the Waffle Houses. I don't go there very often, but when I was there this one time, he was there. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm healing it. I'm really praying about it." Well, eventually he did get it healed. But that's what this toxic system is doing to us. It's creating these disfigured bodies that the lymphatic system is screaming to purge, and we don't even realize what's happening. And it can seriously affect our consciousness. It can depress us and make us feel, all the sense of worthlessness and the whole, downward spiral.
Yeah, so I'm just going to share my screen, you guys. So we took these pictures. Whoops, they didn't come through here. So these are, we
Yes.
got these very deep pictures, so we could get all the details. And then this is kind of like all the things he can see from that, right?
Well,
So
go back to the right eye.
yeah, yeah, let's see, guys. So
That's your left.
yep. So yeah, this part is what you're talking about.
See this black splotch? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not healthy.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. So here's the iris, the pupil, the iris, and the sclera. So Zenka's sclera doesn't look too terrible. It's kind of yellowy, and your eye's a little yellowy. So that's indicative of a fair amount of cholesterol covering. And this white ring right here is oh, you can't see my mouse, is a cholesterol ring around the eye. I'm looking at the right eye. And so, yep. And this is where the pituitary and the pineal gland are. In the right eye, see this gray spot right there, that rectangle at 12:30? At 12:30
Oh,
at the top.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see that?
yeah,
See that gray rectangle
yeah.
right there? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's your pituitary and your pineal. Well, so we're trying to cleanse our pineal, right? The whole goal is to, like the breath work that we just did, the class with Chris. Um, he was talking about the pineal gland and doing the deep breath work, and everybody's concerned about the third eye. But
My head's been X-rayed. My pineal gland looks like a bone. It's that calcified. It looks like a
Ooh.
bone. It looks white.
Well, right here, it's all gray. That's what that rectangle is. And so I gave you a subacute low condition on that, but it's red. So if you look at, there it is right there at top.
Yeah. So when it's this dangerously bad, I just love, this is why I want to share the screen. Be conscious of unconsciously claiming ill health as a basis of any dysfunctionality. Be conscious of feeling out of control in life situations. Become a master of your own ship and fate. Do not allow real problems to deter you from the course. And I have a thyroid problem. I have Hashimoto's. Possible belief about limitations on your part beyond what you actually know about, not destined to have success or quality of life as you experience, goes back to dysfunctional family. I mean, see how you guys see how this is all intertwined? Like
Did any of that hit a nerve, Zenka?
Well, yeah, because I think empowerment is some of the things that I'm working on and our community is working on, you know what I mean? Especially as a woman in tech and all this stuff. And it's like we have to know that we're, I don't know. I mean, yeah. And yeah, it's like your family's always part of your dysfunction, because that's, and I repeated a lot of mistakes that my family did on my kid, and there's a lot going right. But it's like, but these are the things that you want to look at, right? Because we can change these things. And I'll just tell you, you guys, I used to drink, this is embarrassing, right? Here we go, guys. I used to drink 6-pack or whatever a day. I used to smoke a whole pack of cigarettes a day. I have a lot of energy and I didn't know what to do with it. I used to smoke pot, not all at the same time. And these were like portions of my life. And I'm so high energy and so addicted, like you are, you go really in, like, oh, this is fascinating. So if I have coffee, I want coffee. I can't just do it on the weekends. It's like, I want a second cup and a third cup. If I do sugar, it's like, so since December 4th, I've stopped drinking and smoking and everything for many years. I quit smoking in 2006. So that's like decades. And I quit drinking and smoking pot maybe like whatever, 5 or more years ago, and my life totally changed. And now I stopped drinking caffeine and doing sugar since the 4th. I sleep 4 hours a night. I have tons of energy. Everything's going awesome. And I also want to do all these cleanses because I don't want any of this stuff messing up my future, my potential, my joy.
Absolutely.
And it's I've already seen the results of just knocking off. I mean, and I'm also, vegan and stuff. So it's like knocking off just any one of these things that you guys do, like just knocking out sugar or knocking out bread or whatever. It's like, it's worth it because you see results.
This is the new birth. It's the new transformative journey coming into your life, encompassing all these moments of surrender, trust, joyful adaptation of good, the process of letting go, embracing our divine nature, our true identity, becoming the image of the infinite and entering into the quantum field. It's critical. It's super critical. This is something that it's the best thing that we can ever do for ourselves. I mean, it's this interconnectedness of the mind, our body, our spirit. It's more than this because it really is all one. It's one. Every experience that we have, how we respond to that is the combination of what we're putting in our mouth, what we're putting on our skin, what we're putting in our mind, and how we respond to that from the judgments and the beliefs that we carry from our family. It's all super critical. And until we crack that egg and go beyond that current belief system, we're going to be stuck, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be stuck.
Yeah.
And so,
so I want to open it up, you guys, in just a few minutes to questions. So the questions that you have, you can start getting ready for that, and you can start, raising your hands in the reactions thing, and that way I'll know that you want to be called on. But so all of this is combined. Like, I remember you telling the story about the guy with the broken hand. And
You're
the
talking about the scriptural? Okay,
guy
okay,
who
so
just, like
I've got,
suddenly shook your hand and you guys
yeah,
both stopped crying. It was like, so the
what do you
thing
want?
you guys like, but the and I also, so I'd love for you to tell that story, and we need to be brief because I want to get to their questions.
Okay.
The other thing too is like, my question is could I solve my mental blocks and then solve, like, would my kidney or whatever, the thyroid, or like, we have a long list to get through, but like, if I solved my consciousness, I could actually solve my body, or I could solve my body and solve my consciousness. So it doesn't matter what angle I could go at it, right?
Well,
But
it's true. It doesn't,
right?
but it's super helpful. Okay. So let me answer that with these 3 quickies. I was working with a woman who had an extremely high acidic condition back in Massachusetts. Her leg was literally melting. The diabetes was so bad, her leg was disintegrating, literally. So fast forward about 3 months later, the doctor said, "Oh, we're going to have to cut that off. Like, there's no way back." And I urged her to not. I said, "We've got to stay on the path." Her family cornered her to force her to do the doctoring. And they scheduled the appointment. She went in. That last week, my my next level practitioner and I were like sending massive waves of energy to this woman to stop this. She got on the operating table, the doc or in the waiting room. The doctor looked at her leg, took all the bandages off, and he said, "What are you in here for? This leg is healing just fine. Like, I'm not taking this leg off." That's how fast it happened. But somewhere in her brain, she didn't get it, and she didn't change her thinking habits. So a year later, she died. But she had this insane, unbelievable healing. A good friend of mine had massive prostate cancer at 57. He had a massive overnight healing, gone, just completely cleared up. He called me on the phone. He was ecstatic. He couldn't believe it. But it didn't change the core value somehow. A year later, he died. So in these instances, we have to take these experiences, even if it's a boil or a bruise or a bump, they're messages telling us we need to wake up. It's critical. So I think maybe that answered it.
Yeah, so you're saying, and we'll go to Michael next, if you can turn your camera on, Michael, and unmute yourself. So what you're saying is like, and I've heard this, like, this guy was like, "Oh yeah, I miracle cured my wife of cancer." The doctors were like, "What did you do?" And then they traveled the world for a year, and the doctors didn't say come for checkups, and it came back. So in other words, you can leap and have a physical break in your condition to, like, oh, your leg's better, like the diabetes woman. But if your mind is still infected with those thoughts and you're repeating them, then it's going to come back. And that's what I was so interested by this report, the iridology thing you did for me, because I was like, oh, like, it's important for us to name why these things are happening and to let it sink in and be like, yeah, maybe I do need to be more confident, or whatever the thing is, right? Because that's what it's asking for us. And I was told that we have these different bodies. We have a physical body, Then we have an emotional body, and that's where a lot of our illnesses come from, are emotional. Then we have a mental body, and some of our illnesses come from mental, like, you know, really like going over and over, right? And then spiritual, and often diseases and stuff aren't even that deep into the layers. But we know that healing can heal the mental and heal the physical. But yeah, so let's get to some questions. Stone has a question. I don't see Michael anymore, so I'm going to bring up Stone. Stone, yeah, welcome. Stone is one of our guides at LightNet. So here we go.
Hi, Shifu. Good to see you. Hi, Zinc and
Stone.
everybody. Okay, I wanted to know, I did a self-discipline. I was going through some pretty heavy stuff myself, and I didn't want to go down the route of the doctors giving me surgery and medication, because I'm also vegan. And so I had to tell myself I had to find the way to heal what I was going through, because I suffered from endometriosis. And as soon as it was so bad, as soon as I got a little twinge, if I didn't hit my pain relief routine, it would knock me out. It would clearly just sweep me off my feet, knock me out. Okay. So I ended up doing a fast, and it was only meant to be a couple of days. And I just really, as I went through the process, I was listening to my body. I was listening to what all the organs were saying to me, and the different changes, like the odors and stuff. And I could feel that the toxins were being released out of my system. And each day that went by, before I knew it, I was up to day 21. I had more energy than ever before. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't in any pain. I wasn't getting any of these little nigglings coming in. All my senses seemed to be on high alert, and that hasn't changed. And that was 2 years ago. So, and after 52 days, I decided, well, I better get back onto food, because I've proved to myself I can do it. The amount of learning, the clarity, and everything that I experienced, I highly recommend it. But you really got to know what you're doing. Just don't go and just jump into it.
Right.
And it cleared up I haven't had another attack since.
Good.
So there is, and what I learned was, you got to get to a certain stage for the brain to say, yes, that's not going to be there anymore, because words are spell casting. The brain can't tell the difference between a thought and an action. So if we've done all the work to heal the physical, and we're still thinking the mental backwards, it's going to happen. It's still going to take place. But as soon as we can change that spell casting along with the actions that we're doing, we won't have any of these.
Right.
We don't need to go and be cut up,
Yeah,
So
so
thank you for sharing the journey.
whatever lumps or bumps or acne you've got, whatever dis-ease, sleep apnea is the big one. You know, all of them are essentially the same symptom. They're all the same thing. Your body is telling you, dude, you're putting too much stuff in your mouth and I can't process it all. Stop, give me a break. And if your body could get in your face and speak those words, it would for a vast majority of us. And that's what happened to me 2 decades and a half ago or something. I was on some protein powder stuff, and I had pus coming out of my eyes. My body was telling me, stop what you're doing. And I did. I immediately stopped because I figured it out. But you've got to just stop and get on distilled water, not spring water, not tap water, not Sedona well water, not chocolate tree well water, distilled water. There's a big common myth that distilled water leaches minerals out of your body. Not true. The things that you're getting from the Sedona water are inorganic minerals. Your body can't do much with it. You need distilled water through fruits, and plants or distillation process, but typically through fruits and plants. So I get all of my like 99% of my distilled water and my structured water through fruits. That's where I get a vast majority of my liquid. And through vegetables, it's probably only 5%. Today I had for dinner, because it's cold out again a little bit, I had my favorite Thai coconut mushroom soup that had a full 10 ounces of shiitake mushrooms, pretty much a big pile of shiitakes, and basically coconut milk and some other little chopped veggies. But man, it just makes me go bing. It's really awesome. So what Stone had to say, um, if you don't have any money and you want to do a kick-ass detox and you want to heal something, do distilled water with lemon juice, maybe a little apple cider vinegar for 20, 30 days. You'll think your life is falling apart. It will revolutionize your thinking and blow your mind. But if you have to kind of work gradually into it. You can't just go cold turkey, right? You've got to kind of work into it with fruits, fruit juice, lighter foods, more etheric foods. And when you come out of it, you need to do the same thing. If you're a meat eater, the last thing you should do is go right back to meat. You need to take a couple of weeks off for that. You have to ease back in. If you do too heavy foods too quick, you will kill yourself. It's happened to a lot of people. So you need to be really careful and work with somebody like myself or some lymphatic. I'm a product of the International School of Regenerative Cellular Detoxification. And you need to find somebody
How do people
who
find you?
understands all that.
Yeah, how do people find you? I'm going to put the detox link in here, but how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, you can reach me, of course, through LightNet at Shifu.Jingshen at kaivalya.life, or I can just give you my phone number.
Well, here, yeah, I'll just put your yeah, so anybody can yeah, I'm gonna put the
Can you pop it in the chat?
yeah, I pop it in the chat. But if you're listening to this and watching this, team at lightnet.org, I want to talk to Shifu, etc., or Shifu.Jingshen, which you'll see on the thing. Kaivala Life, KAIVALYA.life. So we have a question from Michael. And I've been hearing a lot about distilled water, so I'm excited to try that. So Michael, you have a question. Welcome. Great to see you.
Where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
Yeah, your camera, you're actually frozen. Oh, he dropped out. So maybe we can come back to him. So is there any specific thing you want to say? And again, I just want to reiterate to everyone listening today, because this all sounds so extreme. Like, you know, all of the things he's talking about, because he's like so passionate and hardcore about it. But any small changes that you make in your mental state, in your spiritual state, in your food state is going to produce results. So those things, like even just turning off the TV or even just stopping eating, you know, whatever it is. And then if you really want to do a deep cleanse, like I'm being called, you know, like, yeah, like, let's just take it out. Let's like, you know, I've done a lot of like parasite cleanses and stuff like that, because it's like, yeah, I just want to feel better. So, but there's a whole spectrum, and any little steps you make is going to produce a great result. So the deeper you want to go with it, and it's exercising your mind. There's a reason why you go to these like monasteries, and they're like, sweep the floor for 2 weeks straight, because your mind has to get trained to this too. Your mind has to stop fighting for you to get down and listen, and everyone's going to be different. Michael, I'm going to just have you without your camera. So just, you can keep your camera off, and I'm going to pull you down for the question here. You're
okay.
on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
One thing I was gonna bring up that actually resonated and clicked in my head. You told that story about the woman who she saw all that healing and she just could not bring herself to flee from the danger per se. That actually ties in. Do you know any good like tonics or remedies for the toxoplasma parasite? Because that's literally what that causes in the human brain. It'll make a zebra, and toxoplasma is 100%. It can transmit from animals and to people, and a large majority of the populace has this. But say a zebra, for instance, on the African safari gets it. What the toxoplasma virus does, that comes from cats, by the way. They tell you that whenever you're pregnant, not to get exposed to that. But so yeah, this toxoplasma, whenever it affects the brain and it gets into the neurons, it'll cause a zebra who's crossing with the herd of zebras, and they all know that there's alligators in the water or crocodiles or whatever, but there'll be that one zebra that just stops, takes a drink, and just doesn't understand the concept, even though they all know there's danger. It doesn't have the register in its brain for fight or flight in the proper mechanisms. The toxoplasma literally wants to persist as a parasite and get to a new host body. So by the alligator eating that zebra, it can transmit into the alligator and it can carry on its life cycle. So this toxoplasma is a very major thing that affects a lot of people. Like, if I'm not mistaken, it grows on eggs within a couple of minutes after cooking them. It definitely comes out of cat feces from the mucus in their glands. So do you know any good parasite detoxes for that? Yes. Because that's what would cause that to happen, to where they could see a healing take place and they just wouldn't even register in their brains. That would be a blatant, in my opinion, case of toxoplasmosis.
So the remedy, because none of us really know if we have that. So the first course of action is to detoxify, because you have to understand that the immune system in your body is super, super powerful. Like your body, your energetic being does not want all of these worms and all of these virus things to be in your system. And if you give your body a chance to actually perform its function, instead of being shackled by not being able to perform its function just by even eating a burger, a pizza, a taco, or all the stuff that we like, when you release your system to let it do its job, it will eradicate literally everything. Now, obviously, there's some toxins that are so powerful, it may not be able to overcome it, like the one you're talking about. But when you give your body a chance to actually process its functions correctly, absolute miracles happen. So we have to root out these thought patterns and emotional disharmonies that lead us to doing dumb things, putting not good things in our mouth, not good things in our skin, not good things in our mind. And these conditions that we get, the report that I gave Zenka, are coded messages from our body indicating what's happening and what needs to change. These illnesses and ailments are teaching us what we need to correct. And so if you get that message and you don't correct it, then shame on you. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who have issues, and they said, well, I don't have time for that right now. I mean, I'm going to go see the doctor and take a pill or something. I've got probably 12 relatively people that I was close to that are now dead because they didn't listen. They just kept going downhill in the types of unconscious abuses that they were doing to themselves. So whatever the dis-ease is, whatever the prognosis is, you have to start by completely eliminating every toxic potential condition that you're putting yourself under. And start with your refrigerator. Go question all the stuff in your fridge, right? People look at my fridge and they're like, you don't have anything to eat. Like, what do you live on? And I just kind of smile. So Zenka can relate to that. So that's my advice. That if, you know, I had a friend who had a pretty severe prognosis 30 years ago, and the doctor basically told him, it was a naturopath, he basically told him, dude, like, you need to stop eating, like, you're killing yourself. So he actually did go on a 30-40 day distilled water fast, no herbs, no colonics, just water, and he was completely healed. It radically changed his life. And then he spent the next 30 years being a colonic technician. Very interesting.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking, you guys, just now about like my own life, and I was thinking like when I stress eat. So it's like, oh, I'm going to eat chips, or I'm going to eat rice cakes, and I'm going to do, you know, whatever it is, right? That's the root cause of why we eat whatever, in and out, or all these other things, is because we need relief from our life, right?
Yes.
We're stressed out, and it's like, I can't take this anymore. I need to relax. I need to like nurture myself. I need to like breathe, you know, like I don't feel good. So I want you to write in the chat right now what you do to relieve that anxiety that's causing us to make these other choices. You know what I mean? That is like maybe not so good for us, because maybe if we solve that issue, then we're reaching for the apple instead of we're reaching for, you know, whatever the like, you know, thing that's not so good, the, you know, whatever that is, right? So
yeah. I'd like to briefly address power
that, you guys,
as well.
right now, you know, because Stone was like baking soda. I take baking soda baths almost every day, like with salt. You know what I mean? What are those things that you do to calm yourself down from the wildness of life?
Zenka, I want to address power as well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we have 10 minutes, so I'd love for you to address that. Yeah.
Okay. So we all, you know, I frequently, you know, being a guy in the masculine space, and also being in the athletic space, you know, I get giggled at a lot because I'm very trim. I'm 6 feet, 100, basically 177 pounds. My competition fighting weight was 192. So basically 70, 87, 97. At different points, almost 20 pounds more. But nowadays, at my age, people look and they go, wow, you're really kind of trim. But I'm very dense. My body mass is a very dense body mass. So it's a little deceptive. And I've had different people that I've worked with comment on that, like, how do you hit hard like that, right? So just because you're a vegan or you decide to go vegan, you do not have to give up power. Energetic power is a much, much greater force than just raw physical power. It's more attractive to the feminine. It's way more energetic and intuitive with the divine. And it's much easier energetically because you won't sleep as much, right? You'll be more, generally, you're more alert. So it has a lot of benefits. So I just want to make sure that for the women as well, that we're not talking about taking power away. We're actually talking about creating more power and easier kind of power. Now, it's not kind of power where you're going to go lift gigantic weights or move furniture, become a moving person. But it doesn't mean that you couldn't, in an emergency, lift a vehicle off of somebody or do some miraculous feat with the power of source if you really needed to.
Yeah, so I wanted to so I wanted to show you guys a little clip. So one of the things that Shifu and Adam and I were doing the other day is some vibrovision training with Chris. Let's see. Oh, let me just share my screen again and make sure I get the audio here. So let's see if this will work here.
You can just take a look at me. See me? No. With your eye. See me? I'm right here. At the corner of your eye, there's boom. There's a blip.
Can everybody turn their sound off, please?
No, I mean the paper. You can see the paper right there on the floor. There it is. Nice, Zenka. Oh, you just off. So yeah, good, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's do this again.
So we worked on pulling energy into breath locks in our upper and lower bodies, using these different 500-year-old practices taught to the warriors that protected the royal family in Indonesia, the secret practice. And we expanded our electromagnetic field so much, talk about power, and then we're so connected to source and everything it is, we're like hitting our hands down on paper with blindfolds on. You know what I mean? And so it was really interesting what we were able to do. So again, yeah, I can't say enough about how the fact that I have come to believe, after inebriating myself my whole life, dulling down my senses my whole life, checking out my whole life, that our body is our listening device. It is our printer of reality. And so if, now I get goosebumps all the time, I can feel people, you know what I mean? It's like, so the more your body is like, the more you take care of your temple, the more impact you can have in as you create things. I want to talk about a few things that are going on here, and then I'm going to give you the last word, Shifu. But let me just share a few things that are going on. Here we go. So this weekend, LightNet is going to be attending Michael McPherson's Sedona UFO Sightings Conference. This is going to be really amazing. It's a 2-day thing. This is Michael. He's done a broadcast with us. He's had incredible ET contact, and he can answer any question using his channeling brain. Ra is going to be there. Actress Ra, Brad Olson's coming up. Travis Walton's coming from Snowflake. Isaac Mars. So this is going to be awesome. It's $75 for the 2 days. You can go for $42 for just one of the days, and we'll be doing some UFO sightings on Saturday night. The other thing is next weekend, you guys, after this, we're doing a CE5 for members, where we're going to get together on Zoom as a thing for members, but also for Contact 100 to bring that family back together. So we encourage you to check that out. Also, we have opened season 4 here, and we're going to be running remote viewing. We're running less classes. These are going to be limited to only 8 to 12 people. Remote viewing, the alpha theta brainwave training is actually going to be pulled out because it does want to be a bigger class. We're going to pull that out into the addiction lab. Again, if you know someone who's 4 years sober from addiction to anything, anything at all, whether it's technology and gaming or whether it's cigarettes or whatever it is, right? We were interviewing 100 people who've done that and asking them how they do it. So just let us know, team@lightnet.com. I'm going to be doing the radio research. I'm hoping that Michael will also join me again, because we're really getting far with the research we're doing with that. Absolutely mind-blowing. light language has always been our best class, in my opinion. You will walk out with skills to do light language. It's absolutely it's more powerful than music. It's so amazing. Contact art is happening with April. That really gets you in your theta. Crop circles has been so popular, they keep going. Like Vex is in that class with his super amazing, incredible brain. And they just keep going. They're like, we can't end our thing. We're going to go for 4 more weeks. And Leo's, of course, his class has been so popular. He's voted the best professor in season 2, really getting to know your entire astrological in underpinnings and then doing astral travel to other planets. We're going to have Adam Coupel doing waking induced lucid dreaming here in Sedona. It's going to be in person only. That's going to be by location and lucid dreaming. Jesslyn's going to do the intuition accelerator again. And of course, Eriko, who's totally amazing. She got such great reviews from last time too. She's going to be teaching the Japanese class and also the Jedi practice. So again, you've got an entire, hemisphere of wisdom that you're going to get access to, that you might not have even heard of some of these techniques and ideas and energetics. So she's really takes you through a lot of different practices. And Shifu, you also have benefited from an Eastern view of the world, having studied in China for so many years and really sharpening, going through 6 levels. That's just incredible. When you meet Shifu in person, and he's going to be here on the 27th in person at my house, and we're going to be doing this workshop for you guys. So we want you to bring 10 foods that you love to eat. And he's got a chart, and we're going to look up how much energy that thing has, right? So what is the bread? What is the raspberry? What is the this, that, whatever, just so you're knowing that piece of it. And we're also going to look at iridology. So if you want your eyes studied, you can send us an email at team@lightnet.com and say that you want to be in the next workshop. And you pick a number from 1 to 100, and Shifu will pick a number right now tonight and let me know what it is, and then we'll let you know and photograph your eyes. So that's going to be in 2 weeks. And so Shifu, thank you so much for your knowledge. You have totally expanded my understanding of what's possible with your stories of healing. You've inspired me. I've wanted for weeks and weeks to be like, to do the green juice situation with you. I forgot to share, actually, because I had pulled it up, your website as well. This is his website, Return to Wellness. So he talks about different things, what are these things that can be supported with this kind of detox work: thyroid, constipation, brain fog, blah, 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 all these different things. And the science behind him, and you can tell he's very smart. And, how does your brain, your hormones and stuff, all that stuff connect? A lot of people go about this stuff from one direction, like just the food things, but because he's so high in consciousness and his, because I've seen him do miracle healings just with his consciousness and alone, not even with the food stuff. And I know that he's tapping in at all different levels. So thank you for all you've done in your life to arrive, to come from a family that really wasn't supporting you, and to be able to do the work that you have. So I'll leave you the last, word here, if there's anything you want to share or talk about.
Yeah. There's a big trend towards wanting to find that miracle pill. We've got pills to fix the brain, the this, the that. I think the CDC or some medical organization I just saw on mainstream news, they said, oh, we're going to have a pill to get rid of cancer in the next 6 months. That's the biggest joke on the planet, because cancer is not a dis-ease. It's not a virus. It's acidification of your being. So to get rid of cancer, you simply alkalinize. Stop eating all the acid ash foods, right? So whatever pill you think you could take to fix something, it may look like it's fixing it on the surface, but I guarantee you it's only temporary, and it will never get to the root of the issue. So if you want to get to the root, stop taking all that stuff, go back to nature, go back to distilled water, because when the rain comes from the clouds, that's distilled water. That's what you're supposed to be drinking. And the water from the springs in your city, or here, even here in Sedona, it's inorganic, it's full of junk. Unfortunately, that's the life we live in. So you've got to go back and get the distilled water. You should be drinking distilled water all the time, not anything else. So quit with the synthetics or the fast, short route to getting healed, and find the core energetics that you'll get from detoxification of your body, mind, and soul. Thanks, guys. Good to be here.
Thank you so much. Thanks to all of our members who are here tonight. If not, you can go to lightnet.org/join. We'd love to have you part of our community. And thanks so much, Shifu. It's been fun training with you, Vibra Vision, this week. And it's always a pleasure to learn from your wisdom. Thanks for being with us tonight. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Blessings, everybody.
Peace profound, everyone. Peace profound.